Hello, I'm Lara Kulcherson and this is Newsfeed, your dose of what people are talking about online.
Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Alright, but have you heard this one though? Death, death to the IDF! 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 Hell yeah, from the river to the sea, Palestine must be, will be, inshallah, it will be free.
For a second year now, Israel's brutal war on Gaza took center stage at the Glastonbury Music Festival. That was London-based duo Bob Vylan, who roused crowds with chants for Palestine to be free and a chant, death, death to the IDF. In other words, death to Israeli soldiers. The comments may have been met with rapturous applause with the 30,000-plus audience, but the backlash has been unyielding. The Israeli embassy called it hateful. Festival organizers say they were appalled. Politicians, including Prime Minister Keir Starmer, have condemned the chant, calling it appalling hate speech. The BBC are also under attack for not broadcasting the entire performance live, while the police are investigating whether any laws were broken. Online, people are calling out British authorities for investigating anti-war campaigners like Vylan, instead of going after those committing crimes in Gaza.
Keir Starmer's Britain, it is a greater crime to chant mean things about a foreign military at a music festival than it actually is to be a British person who goes and commits war crimes in that foreign military. Just a few months ago, a case was brought by multiple senior lawyers in this country against 10 British people who'd committed war crimes on camera in Gaza, and it was largely ignored by mainstream media. However, when it comes to people chanting mean things about that heinous organisation, well, that needs to be front page news. Glastonbury needs to release a condemnation. The police need to investigate it. There is literally a British citizen in Gaza right now who regularly flaunts his affiliation with the UK military, doing propaganda for the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, the organisation that is responsible for the mass killings of Palestinians whilst they try and get aid. And that is apparently okay, and that doesn't need to be spoken about.
While support for Palestinians was echoed by many artists, those streaming the gig on the BBC's iPlayer missed out on the performance from Irish hip-hop trio Kneecap. Prime Minister Keir Starmer had initially called for the group to be banned from Glastonbury. This is after the group's Mo Chara was released on unconditional bail following a terror charge for waving a Hezbollah flag at an event in November.
Really? The US media do not want to believe that young Americans agree with us. Young Americans agree with us. Young people around the world know what the f*** is going on. Palestine action isn't arming the genocide in Israel. That's Keir Starmer and the British government who should be prescribed.
Why are UK politicians more outraged by a rap group than by a genocide? Glastonbury has never been shy about featuring provocative artists, but this year, their inclusion of Irish rap trio Kneecap might be too controversial for national TV. Back in April, Kneecap played a set at Coachella where they projected the words F Israel, Free Palestine, and led the crowd in chanting Free Palestine. Days later, British media reported that counter-terrorism officers were investigating a video from a November 2023 London gig. That resurfaced video led to the formal charging of group member Mo Chara with a terrorism offense. Specifically, he was charged with displaying a Palestinian flag at a show in a way that allegedly suggested support for Hezbollah. A Tory minister publicly demanded that the BBC not air Kneecap's Glastonbury performance. Prime Minister Keir Starmer agreed and said he didn't think the band should be performing at all. Starmer said, quote, "I don't think that's appropriate." Kneecap responded saying, quote, "You know what's not appropriate, Keir? Arming an effing genocide."
In a statement, the BBC said it doesn't ban artists, and Kneecap's performance would be available on demand on their digital platforms. But content creators had their own ideas.
Hi, yes, I've just finished editing the set. Yep, happy to run through the changes I've made, sure. So the big note was obviously that Kneecap songs are too political, so what I've done is I've subtly overdubbed them.
I've been waiting for so long now. I found someone to stand by me.
No, I don't think people will notice. I think it's conceivable that Kneecap would do a Bill Medley cover, yeah. I've also changed the bit where they were being mean to Keir Starmer. This bit took me ages, actually. It was quite a lot of careful editing.
The Prime Minister of your country, not mine, saying he didn't want us to play. So
We really like you, Keir Starmer. He's a really awesome guy. He's cool. And I replaced their political chat between songs with some inoffensive, family-friendly observational humour from stand-up comedian Michael McIntyre.
I don't even go shopping for food anymore. I just order it on my laptop online on my ever-increasing tummy just lying in bed. Bring me this food, bring me that food.
And there we go. I've accidentally uploaded the unedited version, for God's sake.
As the plight of the Palestinians were exposed on an international arena, back in Gaza, a new week was met with new horrors of an intensified assault. On Monday morning, Israel launched about 50 aerial attacks after calling on Palestinians to evacuate from northern regions. This has raised fears that Israel plans to step up its offensive in the enclave. Since the war started, Israel has killed more than 51,000 Palestinians. Those towering puppets took to the streets of London on Friday. They're walking from the equator to the Arctic. In what's being called the most ambitious public art project ever attempted, the Herds aims to create awareness about climate change and its impact on all who live on the planet. Organizers say the Herds aim to descend on your city uninvited. Starting in Kinshasa in the DRC, they have so far passed through Nigeria, Senegal, and Morocco on their way to Europe, where they have been to Spain, France, and Italy. The journey started in April, and they hope to reach the Arctic by August.
We will create a massive herd migration of puppet animals. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of them, fleeing climate disaster. Although the herds need to be powerful and devastating, they also need to be beautiful. They will create dozens of species out of recyclable, reusable, and easily sourced materials. And our puppeteers are some of the best in the world. The herds will happen in our immediate surroundings, in our familiar. This is important. It needs to happen to us, not to someone else somewhere far away. It needs to happen where we feel safe so we understand that we are not safe. A story of the wildness of nature overwhelming civilization, but also the story of what is left behind.
Beyoncé is facing a backlash over a t-shirt she wore during her Cowboy Carter tour. The shirt, seen in Paris, showed images of the Buffalo Soldiers, Black US Army units from the late 19th century and early 20th century. On the back was text describing their enemies as warring Indians and Mexican revolutionaries. Fans and indigenous activists criticized the language for framing Native Americans and Mexican revolutionaries as threats rather than victims of US expansion.
40 acres and a mule promised to the African American community in this land wasn't just empty plots of land, it was filled with Native Americans, and they were left with the choice as soon as they were freed from slavery. Start with nothing, or join the cavalry and go kill a bunch of Indians with us and we'll give you that land. Only were they told that, they were also told, you're the real Indians, and that's your land, actually. Closely mirrors Trump's pandering towards the black community, telling them that they are the real Indians in order to fight fiercely on the side of white supremacist agendas and ideologies. And everything was taken from them anyway, so they were ultimately played by the same exact white supremacist system that had just freed them from slavery.
And the singer's problems didn't end there. This weekend, Beyoncé powered through a car malfunction during her concert in Houston, Texas. The singer was performing her song 16 Carriages in a suspended red car while the vehicle suddenly tilted while it was in the air. Fans captured the tense moment and shared it widely on social media.
Oh my God, this is so scary. Do y'all see the way that car is leading? This happened on night one in Houston, and Beyonce is holding on to that flagpole for dear life because during her song 16 Carriages, her carriage quite literally started tilting. The way I would have immediately passed away, and Beyonce was scared too, y'all. Her voice was shaky when she was singing. She eventually had to stop the performance to get help so people could lower her down. I just know everybody and their mamas got bussed out and fired last night. They're probably still at that stadium as we speak, making sure that this does not happen again. Luckily, she was wearing a harness around her waist as she was doing this set because, ooh, y'all, this could have been so bad. But luckily, our Queen Bee made it down safe and sound. I'm just so happy she didn't fall and that the crew was able to get to her in time. During her next performance, Beyonce did acknowledge the malfunction.
I want to thank y'all.
From Queen Bee to the fashion world's very own Queen Bee. Anna Wintour is stepping down as head of American Vogue after 37 years in charge. The 75-year-old, who many believe the Devil Wears Prada film was based on, made the announcement on Thursday. She says she's looking for someone new to lead editorial content at the iconic magazine. But she's not leaving fashion behind completely.
She was just a teenager who loved the fashion world. Then she had the final say in many high fashion decisions, from designer appointments to runway trends. But now, Anna Wintour has stepped down as editor-in-chief of American Vogue after 37 years. What does this really mean, though? She will remain Condé Nast's global chief content officer and Vogue's global editorial director. Basically, nothing's changing, just a title shift to keep her in power.
She will continue as the chief content officer at Condé Nast and the global editorial director at Vogue, meaning her replacement at Vogue will report into her. So Anna Wintour will still oversee all of the Vogues worldwide, including American Vogue, as well as British Vogue, Italian Vogue, French Vogue, and all the rest. And as Chief Content Officer of Condé Nast, she also oversees all the global editions of Vanity Fair, GQ, Glamour, etc.
Even though she's not retiring yet, the move marks the end of an era. So, over the weekend, social media buzzed about how Anna Wintour transformed American Vogue and left her mark on fashion history.
Everyone needs to know that this woman made the magazine the piece of art that it is. You see, before she started at Vogue, the front page looked like this.
This was Vogue before Anna Wintour. This was Vogue before Anna Wintour. Models close up, and you don't really have an idea of where they are because it's just a photo shoot.
Over like 10 years, they had used the same photographer, hired the same well-known models, wore the same heavy make, same poses into the camera. Anna steps in. She's like, no, these are so out of touch with today's woman. We need to shake things up.
This is Vogue after Anna Wintour. November 1988, it was her first cover. Model Michaela Bercu was wearing a $10,000 custom Christian Lacroix top and a pair of $50 Guess jeans.
It became the first time jeans were ever on the cover of Vogue. The first time a high-low look was ever on the cover of Vogue. Kayla basically wears no makeup and is captured in this casual, candid shot, smiling. This photo shoot was actually so shocking, so different, that the printers actually called Vogue's offices back and they were like, guys, is this a mistake?
And just like that, fashion changed forever. She was telling the world that Vogue wasn't just about fashion, it was about art. A world that dared to dream bigger, take risks. Political, provocative, and very poetic. If you're a woman and watching this, remember her wise words.
Never run after a man or a bus, as within 5 minutes, another one will always turn up.
And that's our show. Find our latest stuff on YouTube and do subscribe to our channel. See you soon.